All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're breaking down a highly effective, science-backed 7-exercise routine designed to totally transform your arm days. Look, if you've been searching for the absolute most direct way to build raw size, symmetry, and definition in your biceps and triceps, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're taking all the guesswork out of your workout and giving you a complete masterclass on arm construction.
Let's be real for a second. How many times have you found yourself in the gym just absolutely loading up the bar, pushing as hard as humanly possible, and yet your arms just aren't growing? Man, it's one of the most common frustrations out there. We so often equate lifting heavier weights with guaranteed muscle growth, right? But when it comes to the arms, targeted execution and isolating those specific muscle heads, that is the real secret. You might just be moving weight around rather than actually challenging the muscle.
So, the root cause of a lot of these frustrating plateaus actually comes down to one big thing: muscle imbalance. You see, when we only use two-handed barbell movements, our dominant arm just naturally takes over to compensate for the weaker one. It's human nature. But by incorporating strict individual arm training, what we call unilateral work, we literally force both the left and the right sides to pull their one weight. Fixing these imbalances and utilizing strict isolation, these are the absolute foundations of the protocol we're unpacking today.
Okay, here's our roadmap for the routine. We've got 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 is biceps construction. Phase 2 is triceps expansion. And finally, we'll wrap up with Phase 3, the finisher.
Let's dive right in. Phase 1, biceps construction, isolation, and mass.
So this first phase is entirely dedicated to building bicep symmetry, precise isolation, and just pure thickness. And we're kicking things off with the alternating dumbbell curl. It's an incredibly effective, super accessible exercise specifically designed to build up that bicep peak. And hey, referring back to our earlier point about symmetry, because you're training each arm individually here, you're actively reducing any muscle imbalances right from the very start of your workout.
Okay, for your setup, just stand holding equal weight dumbbells with a neutral grip. Now, the absolute key here is step 2. You've got to keep those elbows locked right close to your body. As you curl the dumbbell towards your shoulder one arm at a time, you must squeeze the bicep at the very top of the movement. Then, and honestly, this is where the magic happens, lower the weight slowly. A slow, controlled tempo creates maximum muscle tension, and that's exactly what forces the muscle to grow.
Now, while that first exercise builds symmetry, our second movement is all about pure, unadulterated isolation. I'm talking about the barbell preacher curl. When you lock yourself into a preacher bench, it actually becomes physically impossible to use your back or your legs to swing the weight up. It is literally just you and your biceps.
For the setup here, keep your arms completely stable on the preacher pad. You'll want to grab a straight barbell with a shoulder-width, underhand grip. Curl the bar up with a really slow, controlled motion. Feel that strong contraction at the top, and then lower it down slowly until you get a full stretch right at the bottom. And since this is so strictly isolated, it's highly recommended to use a light to moderate weight here. You want to ensure a strict muscle activation without straining your joints.
Notice the contrast in our strategy here. It's pretty cool. On one hand, you have the strict isolation of the preacher curl to completely eliminate momentum. But on the other hand, you definitely need classic mass builders like our next exercise, the standard barbell curl, to rapidly develop overall thickness. You really need both of these mechanisms to build truly impressive arms.
So for the classic barbell curl, stand straight up with your feet shoulder-width apart. Grip the bar underhand, keep your elbows stable and tucked right into your sides, and curl the bar towards your chest. Look, this is your core mass developer, so you can absolutely go heavier here. But you still have to control that weight on the way down. The absolute most important rule: do not aggressively jerk your body to swing the weight up. Keep it strict.
All right, here's a quick summary for Phase 1. Notice the rep ranges. We're looking at 10 to 12 reps for the alternating and preacher curls to really maximize tension and get that pump. For the heavier barbell curl, we're actually dropping the range slightly to 8 to 12 to allow for heavier loading. But if you look closely at the sets column,
3. That is the magic number today. 3 sets is your universal golden target across every single exercise in this entire protocol. It really hits the sweet spot of providing just enough volume to stimulate growth without pushing you into junk volume or overtraining. 3 high-quality, perfectly focused sets per movement.
Moving right along. Phase 2, triceps expansion, size and definition.
You know, a lot of people totally obsess over their biceps, but the triceps actually make up roughly 2/3 of your upper arm mass. So to get those sleeves fitting tight, we're starting this phase with the Easy Bar Skull Crusher. This is a powerfully isolated movement specifically designed to target the long head of the tricep. And targeting that long head is absolutely essential because, well, it's the largest part of the muscle. It's responsible for the bulk of your arm's overall thickness.
To perform this safely and effectively, you'll lie flat on a bench and grip the Easy Bar with a narrow grip straight over your head. Now listen closely to this part. Keep your elbows completely fixed in space. Do not let them flare out or swing back and forth. Slowly lower the bar just slightly below your forehead, and then use your triceps to drive the weight straight back up until your arms are fully extended. Selecting a moderate weight and maintaining that proper elbow stability here is critical. It drastically reduces any risk of elbow injury.
From the bench, we move seamlessly to the standing dumbbell overhead extension. This movement is fantastic because it puts that long head of the triceps into a deep, deep stretch at the bottom of the movement, which is then followed by a massive, full contraction at the top. And that specific combination of a deep stretch and a heavy load, that is a primary driver for rapidly increasing arm size.
Now, because the weight is overhead, maintaining perfect posture is crucial. You've got to select a weight that actually matches your strength. Keep your elbows tucked in close to your ears, and most importantly, keep your core completely tight. Do not excessively arch your lower back. Oh, and if you struggle with the standing position, no worries. You can easily perform this exercise seated on a bench with back support.
Okay, so after hitting the triceps with heavy stretches and extensions, we're moving to the cable row pushdown to carve out that deep definition and separation. This exercise is legendary, honestly, for generating an incredible instant muscle pump. Just attach a rope to the high pulley, grip it neutrally, and stand in front of the machine. Once again, lock your elbows into a fixed position right by your sides. Push the rope down, and as you hit the bottom of the movement, deliberately spread the ends of the rope outward. Spreading that rope maximizes the peak contraction in the triceps. Then control the weight on the way back up. A slow return phase is exactly what keeps continuous tension on the muscle, breaking down those fibers for maximum growth. Here's the summary for the triceps phase. Again, 3 sets across the board. The skull crushers and overhead extensions sit right in that heavy muscle building zone of 10 to 12 reps. But notice the cable rope pushdown. We're actually bumping that up slightly to 12 to 15 reps. We do this to really flush the muscle with blood, maximize that pump, and chase down that final definition at the end of the heavy triceps work.
And finally, phase 3, the ultimate forearm finisher, tying the aesthetic together. Look, you can have massive biceps and triceps, but if your forearms are tiny, the arm simply doesn't look complete. So our 7th and final movement targets the brachialis, which sits right tucked between the bicep and tricep. Grab the Easy Bar with an overhand reverse grip. Keeping those elbows stable, one last time, curl the bar toward your chest and lower it slowly through a full range of motion. This is a super powerful finishing exercise. Not only does it build crucial thickness in the forearms and the brachialis, but it significantly strengthens your grip. And hey, a stronger grip means you'll be able to lift heavier weights on all your other exercises in the future.
I really want to highlight this specific, powerful cue to keep in mind, without jerking the body. It is so incredibly easy, especially at the end of a grueling arm workout, to start using your back and your hips to just throw the weight around. But ego lifting and using momentum, that just robs the muscle of the tension it actually needs to grow. Perfect form absolutely must always be your priority. Which leaves us with this final, crucial question to ask yourself next time you hit the gym. Are you actually training the muscle, or are you just moving the weight? Perfect, isolated tension is what builds massive arms. Apply this 7-exercise protocol, use the strict form we broke down in this explainer today, and watch your progress absolutely explode. Thanks for tuning in, and have an incredible next arm day.